What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to go through 3 envelopes that I just recently backed, so let's just jump right into this. The first one is postmarked from Illinois, and it is from former Buffalo Bills wide receiver Don Beebe on 2. I did include 2 extras. Unfortunately, he didn't sign the Green Bay Packers one, which I kind of wanted him to. But he only signed 2 of the 4. Maybe 2's the limit that day, or 2's all that he signs. I don't know. But regardless, very happy to at least get a couple of them back signed. So let me tell you about Don Beebe and his career in the NFL. Don was born in Illinois, where he attended high school in Illinois, where he played basketball, track, and football, and graduated in 1983. He attended Western Illinois University for a little while, but then transferred to Chadron State College in Nebraska, where he would play for their football team and also run indoor track. He would set many records, school records that still stand to this day at Chadron State College. The Buffalo Bills drafted Don Beebe with the 82nd pick overall in the 3rd round of the 1989 NFL Draft. In his 9 NFL seasons, Beebe caught 219 passes for 3,416 yards, returned 81 kickoffs for 1,735 yards, and scored 25 touchdowns. He appeared in 5 Super Bowls, 4 of them with the Buffalo Bills, and 1 winning one with the Green Bay Packers. After his time with the Bills, he, along with a lot of his teammates, went to the Carolina Panthers for 1 season. He only spent that 1 season with the Panthers and then would go on to sign with the Green Bay Packers the following year. After retirement as a player, Beebe would move back to Illinois and found a company called the House of Speed. And the House of Speed would be a kind of training facility for specializing in athletes in the essentials of top performance, speed, and character. In 2004, he began coaching at Aurora Christian Schools in hometown Aurora, Illinois, alongside his brother, and his other brother was actually the athletic director for the school. Well, he did that for a little while, coaching for the high school team, and in November of 2018, he was actually offered a collegiate position coaching at Aurora University, which is also in Aurora, Illinois. Obviously, I got to make this reference here, as in where Wayne and Garth are from in Wayne's World. So as far as I can tell, he's still coaching at Aurora University, but Don Beebe is known as one of those hardworking guys. He's not a really big guy. He only stood at 5'11", but the guy could run, and he could run really fast. He did kickoff returns, punt, I don't know if he did punt returns, but definitely kickoff returns. He was kind of that speedster wide receiver, catch me if you can type of wide receiver. So we're going to move on to the next one, and we'll go from one of the smallest, quickest guys in the game to a force in the game in this gentleman. And this is postmarked from Georgia, former offensive lineman Bruce Armstrong on 1, 2, a 3rd art card, which is really, really nice, and a 4th upper deck card. So Bruce Armstrong, standing at 6'4" and almost 300 pounds, was a mainstay on the New England Patriots offensive line for many years. So let me tell you about Bruce Armstrong. Bruce Armstrong attended the University of Louisville Cardinals, where he was a 4-year varsity athlete and was named the most outstanding lineman his senior year. With the 23rd overall pick in the 1987 draft, the New England Patriots selected Armstrong to play for them. Almost immediately, he became an impactful player, appearing in 12 games, starting 12 games his rookie season for the Patriots. From then on, with the exception of the 1992 season that he missed half of the season due to injury, Armstrong would be the mainstay, appearing in almost every game, 16 of 16 games, for the Patriots, with the exception of that 1 year. He would be named to the Pro Bowl 6 times in his career as an offensive lineman, And this would only fall short of Hall of Famer John Hanna, who also played for the Patriots, as the most for a lineman in Patriots history. Overall in his career, he appeared in 212 games, playing tackle and some guard for the Patriots. That, to me, is pretty darn amazing that this guy played from 1987 to the year 2000, so 13 seasons in the NFL, only missing 8 games that entire time, and he did not find the success that other well-known linemen at the time did because of who he played for, the New England Patriots. Now, I know some of the younger viewers now might be like, well, what are you talking about? The Patriots are like one of the greatest franchises in the history of the NFL. You are correct. But in the 1980s and 90s, the Patriots barely could hold it together. They were barely a playoff team, most of the seasons that they played, and they had some pretty miserable years. Unfortunately, Bruce left the team and retired about the time that they started winning with Tom Brady, and the rest is history. So if Bruce was on those teams, if he played 5 years later, 10 years later, you'd be talking about Bruce Armstrong, the Hall of Famer, right now. And again, this is that really, 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 really good player. And I don't know if one day he'll get in the Hall of Fame, but I certainly would hope so. Because, again, playing 13 years as an offensive lineman and only missing 8 games over 13 years, that's pretty impressive just in itself. Most offensive linemen don't last that long in the NFL. So, very, very happy to add Mr. Armstrong to the collection. I'm pulling for you. Hopefully you'll get in the Hall of Fame someday. All right, this final one, we're going back to wide receivers here. This is one of the best wide receivers that a lot of people just don't remember. And who am I talking about other than Anthony Carter of the Michigan Wolverines, who also played for the Minnesota Vikings as well during his career. And Anthony Carter, when he left Michigan, he held every wide receiver record in Michigan Wolverines history when he left the team. Now, just about every one of those records has since been broken, but that tells you how good of a player during the era that he really was. So let me tell you about Anthony Carter, his prestigious collegiate career, as well as his awesome pro career. So Anthony Carter, who goes by AC for short, played professionally for 13 years between the USFL and the NFL. Carter played for Michigan from 1979 to 82. His first year as a freshman, they used him very sparingly as they did more of a run game that season. And he only had 17 receptions that season, but 7 of those were touchdowns. That's a pretty good percentage, at averaging 27.2 yards per catch. So those are not just, in the red zone, end zone catches. Those are, he's booking, for 30 yards type of catches. By his sophomore year, Carter was the Wolverines' primary option at receiver. That season, he became the first second-year player to be voted Michigan's team's most valuable player. A 3-time All-American, he was named Big Ten Conference MVP his senior year and finished 4th in the voting for the Heisman Trophy that year. When he finished his career at Michigan, he had the record for most touchdowns, most receptions, most receiving yards, most touchdown receptions, most punt returns, most punt return yardage, most kickoff returns, and most kickoff return yardage. Now, every single one of those records has since been broken, but one record that hasn't, of 17.4 yards per play, was an NCAA record at the time. So, upon graduating from college, Carter chose to play instead in the USFL rather than the NFL. He was originally drafted by the Dolphins, who retained his rights if he chose to come to the NFL. He played from 1983 to 1984 with the home state Michigan Panthers, and then he played one season in 1985 with the Oakland Invaders. After the USFL basically folded, the Minnesota Vikings traded for his rights from the Miami Dolphins. and he became a wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. In his time with the Vikings, he led the Vikings in receptions 5 of his first 6 seasons with the team and was selected to the Pro Bowl in 1987, 88, and 89. In the 87 season, Carter helped his team reach the NFC Championship. He set an NFL playoff record since surpassed with 143 punt return yards in their wild card win over the New Orleans Saints, and caught 10 receptions for a then NFL record 227 yards, along with 1 carry for over 30 yards and 2 punt returns for 21 in the Vikings' 36-24 upset win over the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional playoff round. The following season, he caught 4 passes for 102 yards in a 28-17 wild card round win over the Los Angeles Rams. Although newly acquired Chris Carter became the team's #1 receiver in 1991, Anthony Carter remained an effective offensive weapon through 1993, his final season with the Vikings. The final 2 years of Carter's pro career were spent in the same state where it began, this time with the Detroit Lions. Most of the time with the Lions, he was spent attempting coming back from injury. He played in only 4 games in 1994 and failed to make a catch in 1995. Carter finished his 11 NFL seasons with 486 receptions, 7,733 yards, and 55 touchdowns. He also rushed for 289 yards and 2 touchdowns, returned 15 punts for 165 yards, and returned 4 kickoffs for 65 yards. So another neat thing is he was elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. So he is a Hall of Famer, technically. I just want to throw this out there, and maybe there's somebody that can correct me with this little spiel, but I'm going to be quick about this. Does the NFL, or the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I should say, consider the stats of the USFL when considering somebody for the Hall of Fame? Because it seems to me, if somebody like Chris Carter can get in the Hall of Fame, who was a great wide receiver, don't get me wrong, why can't somebody like Anthony Carter be considered for Hall of Fame induction if you factor in his time he spent in the USFL and the success he had there? Maybe I'm just, talking out of turn here, but I would think if Anthony Carter probably played those 3 years in the NFL, his numbers would be a lot stronger than what his career NFL numbers really reflect. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking out of turn, like I said. But regardless, I'm very happy to add that to the collection. These All-American cards are super awesome to get signed. I've shown them off in a couple videos. I picked that set. I didn't pick the setup, but I had a good friend of mine sell me all the singles of the non-big guys in the set. So I didn't get, the Terry Bradshaw or whatever out of the set, which I was perfectly fine with. But I got a lot of the lesser-known guys, which was pretty cool. So, very happy to add Anthony Carter to the collection. Super stoked to get Bruce Armstrong back. Especially on one of these team art cards. Those are always really cool and really nice. I'm going to have to do a video for football sometime. And also very happy to get Don Beebe back. Don Beebe was one of those undersized wide receivers, but the guy just could run and run with the best of them. So, very happy you joined me for another episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Leave me your comments below. Tell me if you enjoyed these guys growing up yourself, because I certainly did watching them play.